We've all been taught to work hard. From an early age, effort is praised. Staying late, pushing longer, grinding through. These behaviors are often celebrated as signs of commitment. But effort without direction is like rowing a boat with all your strength while facing the wrong way. You might be moving, but you're not getting any closer to where you actually want to go. Purpose is the anchor that keeps our work steady and meaningful. It's the answer to the question, why does this matter? Without it, we chase goals we never truly defined. We hustle for promotions, for recognition, for money, without ever stopping to ask whether those things align with who we are or what we believe in. Purpose gives our effort shape. It filters out noise and keeps us focused on what truly counts. Working without purpose often feels like walking uphill in sand. No matter how hard you try, it's never enough. That's because effort alone doesn't create fulfillment. It creates exhaustion. You can spend years climbing a ladder only to realize it's been leaning against the wrong wall. That's the danger of effort without intention. It looks impressive, but it may be leading you away from yourself. Purpose doesn't mean you avoid hard work. It means your hard work is targeted. It means you're not just solving problems. You're solving the right problems. It means you're not just building something. You're building something that matters. When you start with purpose, you begin with meaning, and meaning fuels a type of work that lasts longer than motivation ever could. So many people chase productivity hacks or time-saving tricks, hoping to find a smarter way to work. But the smartest move isn't a new app or a new schedule. It's a new question. Why am I doing this? That question cuts through urgency and surfaces truth. It reminds us that smart work isn't just efficient, it's intentional. There's a kind of invisible weight that lifts when you're working with purpose. You don't have to force motivation. You don't need endless willpower. The work starts to pull you forward because it's connected to something deeper than just your to-do list. We live in a culture that idolizes busy. The calendar full of back-to-back meetings, the inbox overflowing with messages, the constant multitasking, it all signals importance. But being busy is not the same as being productive. In fact, business often disguises the absence of progress. It gives the illusion of momentum while keeping us spinning in place. Productivity is about results. It's about creating value, solving problems, moving the needle. Being busy, on the other hand, is about motion. It's activity for activity's sake. We rush from task to task, check boxes off lists, reply to emails at lightning speed, all while avoiding the deeper, more uncomfortable work that might actually move us forward. There's comfort in being busy. It fills our days. It distracts us from the harder questions, like whether we're spending time on the right things. It feels good to say, I've been slammed all week. It sounds responsible, even noble. But if we're honest, sometimes busy is just a way to feel needed without having to be effective. The trap is subtle. We start associating activity with achievement. We mistake effort for outcome. But staring at a screen for 10 hours doesn't mean the work was meaningful. Taking 20 calls a day doesn't guarantee a better result. Productivity isn't measured in sweat, it's measured in substance. Being productive requires clarity. It demands that we pause long enough to prioritize. It means learning to say no, because not every urgent task is important. Productivity is not about doing more things, it's about doing the right things with intention and focus. That distinction is what separates output from overwhelm. Business thrives on reaction. We let our day be dictated by notifications, interruptions, and other people's priorities. Productivity, on the other hand, begins with proactivity. It means choosing what matters most and giving it your best attention before the noise takes over. That shift from reacting to directing is where the real difference lies. Many of us are addicted to busy because it feels like control, but it's often the opposite. When you're constantly in motion, there's no space for reflection, no margin for insight, no breathing room to assess. You become a passenger in your own schedule, driven by tasks rather than guided by goals. Real productivity sometimes looks quiet. It might mean fewer meetings, longer blocks of deep focus, or even doing nothing at all so your mind can recover and reimagine. But because it doesn't always look impressive on the surface, we dismiss it. We forget that doing less, on purpose, is often the smartest and most courageous choice of all. We've been taught to manage our time like it's the most valuable resource we have. Block your calendar, plan your week, optimize your hours. But time, by itself, doesn't produce results. What really drives our work forward is energy. Because no matter how much time you carve out, if you show up depleted, distracted, or disengaged, those hours won't count for much. Energy is the fuel behind every meaningful task. It's what allows you to focus, to create, to make decisions, to solve problems. You don't need a full 8 hours to do great work. You need one fully present, energized hour with your brain firing on all cylinders. That's why managing your energy is more powerful than managing your minutes. Time is fixed, but energy fluctuates. It rises and falls based on sleep, nutrition, stress, purpose, environment, and even the people you interact with. You can't bend time, but you can build habits and systems that protect and replenish your energy. And once you learn to do that, you'll start to see how much more potent even a small window of work can be. Too often we schedule our work based on the clock, not our capacity. We stack tasks back to back because the calendar allows it, not because we're mentally ready for it. But the brain doesn't run on a schedule. It runs on rhythm. High-performing people understand this. They don't just ask, when do I have time? They ask, when do I have energy? There's a difference between being present and being effective. You can sit through a 3-hour meeting and contribute nothing of value. You can stare at a spreadsheet for 2 hours and miss the obvious insight. But if you enter with clarity, focus, and energy, even a 20-minute session can move mountains. It's not about duration. It's about depth. Managing energy also means knowing when to stop. Not when the clock says to stop, but when your mind is spent and your output starts to decay. Smart workers recognize diminishing returns. They don't squeeze the last drop of willpower out of themselves just to say they finished the day strong. They leave space to recover, knowing that tomorrow's quality depends on today's choices. Energy isn't just physical. It's emotional and mental too. Stress drains it. Doubt eats it. Lack of meaning empties the tank faster than any workload ever could. That's why protecting your energy means protecting your mindset. What you believe about your work and your place in it can either energize or exhaust you before you've even started. Instead of asking how much time something will take, start asking what kind of energy it will require. Creative work needs curiosity. Strategic work needs clarity. Leadership needs presence. Each requires a different type of fuel. Once you begin aligning the kind of energy needed with when and how you work, time becomes a tool, not a trap. There's a quiet pride many people carry in doing everything themselves. It feels noble to be the one who always steps up, always carries the weight, always figures it out alone. But strength without leverage is just strain. It's not scalable, it's not sustainable, and over time, it becomes a bottleneck to growth. Leverage is the ability to do more with less. It's the multiplier that's one person's effort into a team's momentum. It means using tools, systems, relationships, and processes to amplify impact. When you lift alone, your output is limited by your stamina. When you use leverage, your output is limited only by your strategy. Many high achievers confuse control with effectiveness. They hold on tightly to tasks because they believe no one else will do it. Right. But clinging to control is not leadership. It's limitation. Smart work is about designing systems that don't rely on you being the hero every time. It's about stepping back so the right things can move forward without friction. Technology is one form of leverage. Delegation is another. Templates, automation, documentation, these are not shortcuts, they're investments. They reduce cognitive load and free you to focus on what only you can do. The goal isn't to be everywhere. The goal is to be where you matter most. There's also leverage in collaboration. The best ideas rarely come from solo minds grinding in isolation. They emerge in dialogue and challenge, in shared problem solving. Working smart means asking for help. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know someone else's insight could unlock the answer faster than your solo effort ever would. Carrying too much on your own isn't a sign of strength, it's a sign of imbalance. The strongest structures don't rely on one beam. They're supported by multiple forces working together. In the same way, sustainable success is built through shared effort. It's not about how much you can handle. It's about how well you can distribute. Leverage is also about trusting others. Trusting that people can grow when you give them responsibility. Trusting that progress doesn't require your constant presence. This shift from doing to enabling is where leadership begins. You stop being the worker and start becoming the builder of systems, teams, and momentum. When you work with leverage in mind, you begin to ask better questions. How can this be done without me? What can be repeated or automated? Who can I empower? Those questions change everything because they shift the focus from effort to effectiveness, from capacity to impact, from lifting alone to building something greater than yourself. Activity feels productive. It gives us something to point to, a list of things done, hours logged, tasks completed. But not all activity leads to progress. Often, we get so caught up in the doing that we forget to ask whether what we're doing is actually making a difference. It's easy to confuse movement with momentum. Outcomes are what matter. They are the tangible shifts that occur because of your work. Did the customer walk away more satisfied? Did the product improve? Did the team gain clarity? Outcomes are results, not routines. When you focus on outcomes, your work becomes purposeful rather than performative.
Many people start the day with a long to-do list and finish it with a sense of exhaustion, but no clear sense of accomplishment. That's the trap of activity-first thinking. It encourages us to stay busy, to feel efficient, to keep going. But it rarely forces us to step back and ask, is this getting us anywhere? Thinking in outcomes starts with defining success clearly. Before diving into a task, ask what you're trying to achieve. What should be different when you're done? That simple shift reframes everything. It stops you from blindly following a process and starts you thinking critically about purpose, effectiveness, and value. It also changes how you prioritize. Not all tasks are created equal. Some might take hours and change nothing. Others might take minutes and unlock massive value. When you think in outcomes, you stop measuring effort by time and start measuring it by impact. You begin to invest your energy where it actually counts, This mindset shift is especially important in teams. Meetings, reports, check-ins, they all take time, but they don't guarantee alignment or clarity. If a process isn't producing a real result, it's just theater. When everyone on a team is aligned around outcomes, collaboration improves because people stop doing things out of habit and start doing them with intention. Thinking in outcomes also builds accountability. Activities can be checked off quietly. Outcomes demand ownership. They make it clear when something worked and when it didn't. That clarity is uncomfortable sometimes, but it's also where growth lives. It reveals the gap between effort and effectiveness. When you approach your work through the lens of outcomes, you begin to question legacy routines. You give yourself permission to stop doing what no longer works. You create space for better ideas, faster paths, and clearer goals. And instead of asking, "What did I do today?" you start asking, "What changed because I showed up?" We've been conditioned to see rest as something you earn, something that comes after the work is done, after the hustle, after the burnout. It's treated like a luxury or even a weakness, as if slowing down is a sign that you're not serious. But rest is not what comes after performance. It's what makes performance possible in the first place. The human body and brain aren't designed for endless output. Even machines require maintenance. Yet, we push ourselves through fatigue, celebrate all-nighters, and wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. It's a dangerous narrative because it suggests that the only valuable work is painful work, and that rest is the opposite of ambition. Rest is not stopping. It's not quitting. It's not falling behind. It's a strategic reset, a deliberate decision to protect your energy, your creativity. Just like muscles need recovery after lifting, your mind needs downtime to integrate information, make connections, and solve problems that raw effort alone can't crack. Some of the most productive breakthroughs happen after we step away. The insight that appears on a walk. The solution that surfaces in the shower. These are not accidents. They're evidence that rest unlocks something effort cannot. When the brain is free from pressure, it has space to connect ideas that were previously tangled. In a world that constantly demands attention, rest is also an act of discipline. It's easy to fill every moment with noise, scrolling, checking, replying. But real rest requires intention. It means protecting your mind from constant stimulation, not just your body from overwork. It means giving yourself time to think without having to produce. Rest also builds resilience. You can grind your way through one season, maybe even two, but over time, the cost compounds. Burnout doesn't announce itself all at once. It creeps in quietly, in decision fatigue and irritability, in the dulling of your creativity. Strategic rest keeps the fire burning without letting it consume you. Leaders who rest well lead better. They make sharper decisions, see further ahead, and respond with more emotional intelligence. Rest isn't passive. It's preparatory. It's the space where insight, recovery, and vision are cultivated. It creates the margin that growth depends on. When you stop treating rest as a reward and start treating it as a requirement, everything changes. You stop asking, "Do I deserve a break?" and start asking, "What kind of recovery will set me up to do my best work?" That question shifts rest from a guilt-ridden pause to a strategic advantage. The world doesn't reward perfection. It rewards progress. Yet many people are afraid to move until they're certain. They wait for the perfect plan, the guaranteed outcome, the flawless strategy. But the truth is, success rarely comes from getting it right the first time. It comes from learning fast, adapting often, and having the humility to begin again. Learning is not an event. It's a posture. It's a willingness to admit you don't know, to ask better questions, to stay curious even when you think you have the answer. In a fast-changing world, the most valuable skill is not what you know. It's how quickly you can learn what you need next. Those who embrace learning stay relevant. Those who resist it eventually get left behind. Adaptation is the bridge between learning and progress. Knowledge alone doesn't create change. It's the ability to apply that knowledge in context, to adjust course when reality shifts. That creates momentum. Adaptation requires flexibility, but it also requires courage. It means letting go of what once worked to make space for what works now. Repetition matters, but only if it's thoughtful. Doing the same thing over and over, while expecting different results isn't discipline, it's denial. Repeating with reflection, on the other hand, is how mastery is built. It's not just about doing again. It's about doing better, with sharper insight and stronger intent each time. Failure plays a critical role in this cycle. When approached with the right mindset, failure becomes data. It shows you what doesn't work, reveals hidden assumptions, and forces you to think differently. The most effective people don't fear failure. They mine it for clues, adjust accordingly, and move forward smarter than before. Many teams struggle not because they don't work hard, but because they stop learning. They become rigid in their processes, defensive about their decisions, and closed off to feedback. Learning organizations, on the other hand, build cultures where reflection is normal, mistakes are discussed openly, and improvement is constant. Adaptation becomes part of the DNA. This mindset is not just for times of crisis. It's for every season. And complacency doesn't usually arrive with a loud crash. It arrives quietly, disguised as comfort. When we stop learning, we slowly start drifting. And by the time we realize it, we've fallen behind. Staying in motion means staying in learning mode, no matter how experienced or successful we become. The cycle of learn, adapt, repeat is a loop that never ends. It's not a flaw in the process. It is the process. You experiment, you reflect, you tweak, and you try again. Over time, the compound effect of this cycle creates something powerful. Wisdom sharpened by experience, growth built on humility, and success that's actually sustainable. There's a certain thrill in moving fast. Fast feels efficient, powerful, even impressive. We race through emails, sprint toward deadlines, push projects across the line just to say we're making progress. But speed without direction is just movement. It looks productive on the surface, but without intention, it often leads nowhere meaningful. Direction is about clarity, viewing where you're going and why it matters. It's the compass that ensures your pace has purpose. When you move fast without this compass, you may end up far from where you actually intended to be. And the faster you go in the wrong direction, the longer it takes to recover. In a results-obsessed culture, slowness is often seen as weakness. But thoughtful decisions, clear strategy, and intentional steps take time. They require you to pause, reflect, and question your assumptions. That pause might slow you down temporarily, but it prevents costly detours down the road. Speed can be seductive. It gives the illusion of momentum, even when you're spinning in circles. It feeds the ego fast responses, fast promotions, fast launches. But when the focus is only on getting there quickly, we risk sacrificing quality, alignment, and sustainability. Real progress isn't just fast. It's accurate, grounded, and directionally sound. Teams often fall into the trap of urgency over clarity. Projects are rushed out the door before they're ready. Decisions are made under pressure.